Today we're going to share a very unpopular topic, I feel it may be. And it's going to be about spiritual ego and the special ones and the chosen ones and those who are awake and those who know, the illumined ones, those that are in the know. In the know. And so I put up a post earlier because it just came to me. Nothing is more alluring, nothing is more attractive to the concept of the chosen one or the chosen ones or the special people or God's special people or the ones who get it. The idea of special, the idea of better, the idea of more, the idea of we get it and they don't. The idea I know something that others don't. The idea that I have been born with something more special than another. And let's just get it straight from the beginning. Everyone is perfect, divinely unique, and in a sense, everyone is absolutely special in the eyes of the Creator, but not special in a way that's better than others. Special that it's unique, and its specialness doesn't make it better than something else. It's just unique. We're extraordinary. We're extraordinary. We're extraordinary. We're extraordinary. And so the spiritual ego thrives on specialness. It thrives on the idea that I have something special within me. Again, we're using special in this case. We've shared many videos recently about you're unique, you're a multidimensional snowflake, you're a one-off. This is true. This is absolutely true. And the spiritual ego, the aspect of self that thrives on making itself better or more, or in the shadow sense, thrives on making itself a victim or a poor me or I'm not good enough. The spiritual ego thrives on the idea of specialness. It thrives on the idea that there's levels and hierarchies. And just checking we're live, yes, we're good. So it thrives on this. It lives on this. And it's so subtle. And so on my journey of remembering my remembrance, this continuous journey of remembering my remembering, and the channeling kind of idea that appeared, and I went through so many tests, is what I call them. They're tests of integrity, tests of where I am at in this journey. And I can say nearly 100% of the tests have been when you receive something that aggrandizes the individual. You receive something that makes you the special one. That's always the test. You receive some message and it's like you're the chosen one. You've got this special code. You've got this one thing. You've got this, and you must bring it forward in the world. And you have to do it. For me, for this one, that has been the biggest test. And thankfully, because of my, I think, shadow journeys, because of the life and the lifetimes that have been led, these tests, each time it's been seen. Because I think I've been well prepared for this. Any idea that aggrandizes, which means makes this one a special one, or makes any other a special one. It could be the chosen people, this special one, or this one you must follow. The savior complex. This is the one that's going to save us. This is the one that's going to bring it all together. I can share and see and feel in my journey that has been the most prevalent test. And each time it comes, it's so seductive, it's so sexy, it's something that, if you've been in this journey, you've been you're the different one in the family, you're the one that stands out, you're the one that doesn't get accepted, you're the one that maybe when younger there's trauma or there's abuse or there's things that keep you small. The greatest desire of that soul being is to become the fullness of itself. So whenever we get tested in this way, the spiritual ego is so alluring, so seductive, because it wants to be special. It wants to be heard. It wants to be seen. It wants to be felt. because maybe in the lifetime it hasn't been seen, it hasn't been appreciated, it hasn't been felt, it hasn't been embraced. And so the spiritual ego is so seductive and so alluring. So you get this message, you're the special one holding the special codes, and you're here, the superhero type idea. You're here to save the world, and you're here to be the one that, you know, fulfills this mission. It's so challenging because it's so seductive. And it plays to all of your fears and plays to all of your insecurities and plays to all of the things that you want. And it's so sneaky. This spiritual ego can bring messages from divine messengers that you're the special one and you need to do this and you need to do that, and can just give the greatest illusions of grandeur. And again, it's finding this balance that we are one-offs, we are unique, but we are not separate or better than. Special in this sense means I'm a special one, or we're the special ones, or these are the special ones and they're the not special ones. These are the ones that get it, and these are the ones that are awakened, and these are the ones that are falling behind. And you see, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure if I'm seeing it, I've done it as well. You see a lot of, not I'm sure, I know I've done it. There's a lot of preaching what I know. Let's just talk with me. There's a preaching of what is known. Again, when I'm in flow, Martin has stepped aside. But there's a preaching. There's a kind of, I know what is right, and I'm going to share what it is. And if you don't get it, you're going to be left behind. If you're too asleep to get this, it's not for you. It's so subtle. The spiritual ego is so subtle, and it'll always try and make special, better, more. It'll always try and separate. Unity, as my dear brother Tristan, musical genius, thank you for your gift last night. I can't believe you're still up, or you haven't gone to sleep, or I don't know what's going on there. We are all equal unity consciousness. Yes, my brother. This is it. We are all equal unity consciousness. We are all. And so this is where the spiritual ego doesn't like, is that includes those playing the asleep roles, those playing the dark roles, those playing the opposing roles, those playing all the roles that give us this vision, that give us this opportunity to see our uniqueness. Yet we say we are the special one. Okay. The spiritual ego says, I'm special. I hold this. I'm the only one that can do this. I've received this. Again, I've received so many times, and I've caught it so quickly, but I'm sure it has come through. I'm sure it has. It must have, because no filter is completely perfect. I'm sure it has come through, not in awareness, but I've definitely experienced at times where you'll get this message and it'll come from supposedly ascended beings or some other whatever it was. There's all sorts of things, and it always have this subtle sense that you're special. You've got something special to do. It wouldn't, of course, say you're better than, but it has this aroma of you've got this special something, and you're to go do this. And it's happened so many times, and I have, again, consciously for me, I've caught it every time that I remember, and I would love to hear. Actually, I did get reflected one time by a beautiful brother. It was very challenging, but very beautiful. Reflected something along those lines about Martin. It was going back. So fully owning any unconscious ways that I have felt, that I have played this out. I'm sure I have. I know I have. But when it comes to like this receiving guidance, it comes to bringing forth grander versions of ourselves, if it has any aroma of separation, if it has got any smell of separation, if it's got any subtle us and them, good and evil, higher and lower, for this one, I can just see totally, it'll just play into spiritual ego, and it'll just fuel it, and it'll just, and it's because it's so subtle, and because it plays to all the fears of, again, it's a general trait or theme. If you've been I've been with some hundreds, thousands of our dear beings remembering our remembrance. It's a common theme to be unheard, to be appreciated, to not be seen, to be seen as I like to call it now, the golden sheep, the golden sheep of the family. So the spiritual ego has all of these tools of what's the real trigger, what's the feeling of emptiness, what's the feeling that if you were given this, then wow, everything, then I'm filled up. And again, it's this balance, it's this mastery to know that we are multidimensional snowflakes, which we are the golden sheep. We do hold a unique gift, and every single one of us. But that is not better than the one that you think is asleep. It's not better than the one that's playing the dark role, the one that's playing the deceiver, the controller, the manipulator, the abuser. They're holding a unique gift to hold a contrast to the golden sheep, to hold a contrast to the one that holds light. Or so it's the mastery of being your unique genius and not making it better. Being your unique, I don't want to use the word because we've defined special here. Being the perfection of what it is you're here to be, without making that hierarchical, without making that more, without making it important. Important in relations to something that is less important. I'm important. So it's so subtle, and it's a challenge, and I'm speaking about it today because I feel I've been blessed in this, because if I had got these kind of feelings and messages in a period in my life before, I would have been all in. I'd been like the second coming. I'd be like, I am all in. But blessed that it came in a period when I really was in much more balance. It was really so much easier to see all of Martin's character traits and challenges. So there was never much of a danger to get this savior complex coming in, because of the life I'd led, and because it came at a time and through experience that seemed to be, it wasn't going to get through. But I'm sure, and I'm going to own unconsciously, subconsciously say, I'm sure it has come through. But every time I've kind of received these type of messages, it's just become very clear instantly, like so quickly. It's just it's spiritual ego trying to become special, trying to fill those gaps. And the mastery is seeing that and thanking that. Again, this spiritual ego, this is a part of it. We thank that. Okay, I can see this alluring, attractive quality or trait that really fills a part of the little me, because of the life that is led and the things that it always has really craved and desired to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, to be understood, all of these things. And to recognize that it will feed that, it will give you that, with the proviso, with the caveat that you become the special one, that you've got something that no one else has got. And again, it's this mastery, it's this balance. It's true that you're completely, wholly unique and perfected part of this whole, but it in no way makes you better. It in no way makes you special above. In no way puts a hierarchy. All those that are asleep, all those that don't know what you don't know, all those that don't see what you can see, all those that are playing a role that seems non-spiritual or seem like they're, what's this word someone told me recently? It's from computer games, so I don't really, but I liked it. What is it called? If you're watching in the comments and you know computer games, there's a thing like where they say there's characters in your game, in your field, but they're not participating. There's like a word, there's an acronym for it, like non-player something. Someone in the comments will know. Please put in the comments if you know what that is. So there's there's a game and they're not taking part, they're just kind of fillers. They're just kind of just in movies it would be called like a, oh my god, I can't remember any of this human stuff. Like a side part or just like a filler. They're not in the main cast. Genesis backdrop people. Yeah, so that idea, but there's an actual name, I think it comes from gaming or something like that. that says that they're not participating in the game. They're just kind of filling in the space. So backdrop people will do for now. I like it. Thank you, Jenna. And so they are part of the perfected whole. They are unique in what they are here to bring. And even if you say they're a holographic projection, it's fine. It's true. It's also true. But whenever we become special ones, whenever we become the one that knows, whenever we become NPC, thank you, Katrina. Non, oh my God, you give me the NPC now. I don't know what it means. It's non-player something or non-something something. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so there's a holographic projection. Everything is coming from, everything that we see and experience is coming as a holographic projection of our consciousness, and we get to put the NPCs and we get to put the star roles and the star players in our movie and our role. But the spiritual ego wants to and uses any little aspect of ourself that hasn't been integrated, and which we, and every single one of us, again, you may disagree, and I love you, and I agree that there is infinite perspectives. There's multiple perspectives on infinite potential. So there's so many ways that so everything is appearing as a reflection of our individual consciousness, and we're not sharing one world. We're not experiencing the same world. We're experiencing our world. There's one earth, but infinite worlds. There's one field where we are playing in, but there's infinite ways in which we can experience that. We think we share it. We think, everything that I see and experience is what everyone else sees and experiences, and it's absolutely not the case. So whenever, this is the challenge again, so you are the center of your holographic projection, and everything else is the reflection of that projection. So because you're the center of that universe, it's so easy for the spiritual ego to say, oh, I'm the special one. Or again, the shadow side, I'm the poor one, I'm the victim, oh, poor me. This is the, because you are the center of that holographic projection, the spiritual ego has all its tools to make you the special, the victim or the villain mix. So from the projection point of view, you are the center of the universe. It's all about you, and it is all a reflection of you. So you are special. But it's when your version of the holographic projection, your part of it, becomes better or worse. Again, it's both sides. When it becomes better or worse than any other reflection, that's when the spiritual ego has got all of its tools, and it just sits back and says, gotcha. Because then you're on a spiritual quest, then you've got you've got a mission, then yours is super special. And what was a real challenge is when even one other being agrees with it, then you're in real trouble. And then 100 people agree with you, you're done. 1,000 people agree with you, forget about it. Because when it gets attention and agreement, then it self-perpetuates itself. So if two or more are gathered in my name, there I am. So even one agrees with our spiritual ego and our specialness. It's a challenge. It can be a challenge. So I'm sharing today that I'm very open to anyone who has seen this with this one. Again, I did get it reflected one time, and it was very challenging, but it was powerful, and I really thank that brother who reflected that, to see that within oneself. So again, I'm sat in a car making sounds, talking about something that is about just this. So the invitation is, yeah, if you've seen that in me, I'd invite you to share it with me. And if you notice that in yourself, or if you've received guidance, honestly, there's so many, I don't want to call beings, energies, entities, beings, we can call it, that are tricksters, that will just do it for fun. Then there's real malevolent type of energies that will do this because the level of control that can be, again, there's just infinite ways consciousness can appear. It can appear as malevolent, it can appear as benevolent, but the level of control that a being or beings or energy can put upon someone that believes they're special and they've got some sort of mission and this is divinely orchestrated by God and they are the chosen one is like nearly unlimited, because it speaks so much again to the beings that are susceptible to that, and all of us I'm sure are to some degree. If you disagree, please put in the comments. I'm open to everything. There's no absolutes here, just one perspective and infinite potential. The power that this can have when you believe you're a special one, or again in the shadow sense, when you believe I'm just a poor me and I'm not good enough and this is okay for everyone else but it doesn't work for me, the power it has over the individual then is so strong, because it pulls to your greatest desires, your greatest vision of yourself, which when in an aligned state, when it comes from within, with in non-hierarchical, non-special sense, is the greatest becoming, is the recognition of our individual uniqueness, our divine blueprint that is a perfected whole. This is the absolute challenge of this. There is a divine, absolutely perfect blueprint projecting in, through, and as our life, and everything other than that is filtered through the lens of a false or limited belief. And that perfected whole doesn't make it better than anything else, because it is a divine perfected whole, one with everything else. And because we have delineated what is good, what is bad, what is special, what is not, what is more, what is less, we take a divine perfect blueprint that is unified and whole and put, this is the better one, this is first place, second place, third place. You know, it's in the society, it's in the DNA, it's in all of this, and it's such a challenge to master. So the invitation today is to see, where have you potentially been making yourself the special one? Or where have you been making yourself the small one? Where have you been putting levels, putting people or others ahead of you, or putting others behind you? Where have you put specialness in front of sacredness, oneness, unity, whole? Jenna said, I have seen this in me and thank the ability of self-inquiry. This is it. Self-inquiry is key. If we inquire into self, again, this is the experience of this one. When we inquire truly into self, if you take it to its fullest, you'll see that you don't exist and you never existed. When you inquire into that special one, again, if you've got the special one, then it's going to be very hard to inquire. And when you get to like real lowest, I'm the poor one, I'm the low one, it's challenging to inquire. But it's always, we're always called to this self-inquiry. If you take it back to its core, you really will find directly, experientially, that you don't exist. That a separate self doesn't exist. There's no Martin, there's no Jenna, there's Alicia, there's no Katrina, there's no non-playing characters. Thank you, Katrina. I'll go back through the comments. There's no Tristan. There is no Robbie. Oh, my two musical brothers. Wow, amazing gifts last night. When we truly self-inquire, we will see. If I missed anyone in the comments, I apologize, because it puts it in a tiny wee square and I can hardly see it. We'll truly see that there's no one there's no one here. This has been experienced by no one. There has been a recognition that there is no one here. There's a sitting of the body and a falling away of that which never was. And it's recognized by no one. And it's not an experience, because an experience takes two. There is a seeing. And spiritual ego or human ego is seen that it doesn't exist. Yet our experience of human ego or spiritual ego are very real to the dreamed character. Martin feels everything as you feel everything, experiences everything, the highs, the lows, and that's the whole point of it. If it weren't to be that way, it would just go away. It would be as we are, no thing. Okay, I'm going to check a few comments here and then we'll leave it at that. Let's see. Jenna, I experienced this in a huge way a few years ago. I was so easily manipulated into almost cult-like groups. There we go. And gatherings because of my desperate thoughts of need to be something. There it is. Wow. So very glad to have walked through that. Wow. That's it. Like, honestly, if the spiritual ego gets a hold of whatever your deepest core desire as a human is, it can make you pretty much do anything or go anywhere and say anything. Again, on both sides, the savior and the sinner. If there is a smell of separation, let it go. Thank you, Jenna, for sharing that. That's amazing. Hi, Alicia. Genesis, NPC, non-player, backdrop people. Yeah, so non-playing characters. I love it. I am. What is this? Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Jenna. Why does this disappear? I am me, and that is enough. I need be nothing but me, and that's it. We are. Why does this keep doing this? Brother Tristan, we are in Soul Skull. I saw something about SKOOL yesterday as well. Let's see this. Jenna. Such amazing energies and communication between masculine and feminine feels so much easier and free-flowing. I feel heard. Yes. And so this core calling for all of us to be seen, to be heard. This is the biggest challenge of this. The soul, like that core calling to be seen, to be heard, is to be seen, to be heard by self. And self always sees and hears itself and embraces itself fully and knows itself fully. Yet the aspect of self that we are comes into this dream, never actually comes into this dream, but it appears to come into this dream with an agreed upon amnesia so that it will forget itself. So we don't know that we are source, and we are remembering that we are source. And then so the idea of specialness is one of the biggest barriers to the recognition, not in truth. Nothing can make us not what we are. We can just delude ourselves and fool ourselves and forget ourselves. But the idea of specialness and more and better and hierarchy and better and worse is the biggest barrier to recognizing that it's just this. We're always already this. So Deborah says, is the definition of ego attachment? Is this the definition of ego attachment? So what we're sharing here today is we're talking about spiritual ego. And so let's probably define both of those at one definition, one perspective on infinite potential. So the way we define ego is the sense, firstly, that it's separate. All ego is separation from source. All ego is separation. And so what we're defining, separating here, which is funny. We're talking about oneness, wholeness, and we're separating. But this is what we're here for, is to define and refine. Otherwise, you couldn't see this body, you couldn't see the car, you couldn't see the tree. So we'll use the term human ego is I am a separate self, separate from my source. I am a body, I am a mind, I am my feelings, I am this experience. And so attachment to that would be, I believe myself only to be this body. I am my story, I am my thoughts, I am what happens to me, and this world that appears is something that I am in. And so, yeah, we attach to the identity of I am a body, I am a story, I am a man, I am a woman, I am this, I am that. And the spiritual ego is where we start as a being to remember more of who we are. We start receiving concepts, maybe through books or teachers or direct experiences. Again, it's not always external. The spiritual ego comes from more understanding, I'm going to say, more understanding of what is here, whereas the human ego is like, again, don't want to put levels on it, but the human ego is, I am a body, I am this, I am mind, I am my feelings. And the spiritual ego becomes more aware of itself. The individual becomes aware that it's more than its body. It's more than its feelings, thoughts, circumstances, ideas. And generally the spiritual ego, in the way that we talked about it here, is on the light side. Then it becomes aware of itself as a grander part of itself. But then what it begins, like when you say attachment, when it begins to identify mostly solely with a higher aspect of itself, but still in a special attachment way, still in a separate way. So I have awakened from the human ego. I know I'm not just this body. I know I'm not my stories, thoughts, feelings. I am a multidimensional being, which again is true. I am a starseed. I am a light worker. I am a way shower. I am a blah, 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 intertitle here. And I now identify as this. I am a Pleiadian, or whatever. I'm just going to, and then I identify, so spiritual ego is, I identify as this special, more spiritual being. So it's still separation, but it's just a, quote, higher version. So I'm a starseed, I'm a wayshower, I'm a Pleiadian, I'm a unicorn, I am a blah, blah, blah. Again, all of these, I make a little fun because it's good to have fun, and laughter is medicine. And if it triggers, you're very welcome. But so spiritual ego is when I am, so still attachment, and I like what you said there, Deborah, like it's the definition of attachment. So it's attaching an identity, but it's attaching it to a higher one. And the spiritual ego on the shadow side could be attaching yourself to a, this is when you got this God versus evil, good versus evil. You got this spiritual war, and you got these demons versus the angels, and you got saints and sinners. And on the light side, I am the special one, I am the chosen one, I am the savior. I know all of this, and I'm here to save. Like, how many of you, put in the comments, be honest. How many of you, I'll share my experience with this. How many of you had some sort of, if you're listening here, it's very likely you've had some form of spiritual experience, some form of awakening. And I make that as a, I don't know the English word for it, but it's not a something that's happened, it's a happening. It's an awakening. And whenever you had this experience, all you wanted to do was tell everyone about it. All you wanted to do was tell everyone that that they didn't know, because you now know it or you experienced it. And I mean, this is in a beautiful way. I'm not talking about it necessarily in a, quote, negative way, but you have this beautiful spiritual experience of this awakening, or you see something in a new way, or you feel the bliss of your being in some way, and all you want to do is tell everyone about it. And all you want to do is tell people how they can do it or be it as well. I can share, when I first experienced breath work, I disappeared and I merged as the universe, as God. I can say, well, in human language, that's the best way I can say it. There's no, oh, it was 33 when I said that. I didn't experience that in the language that I know now, but let's just make it simple to use the language. It was just bliss. I disappeared and bliss was. After that, all I wanted to do was tell everyone about it. I mean, in a not in a like, oh, I'm better. It wasn't in that way. It was like, oh my God, this is what I've been searching for my whole life. I want to tell everyone. I want to get everyone to experience this. And then some people, that's amazing. Some people, that is a gift, and you give them this message and they have an experience and it's beautiful. But some people, I would say a lot of people, your family or close friends or people that's just in their journey, and you want to deliver that message, and that it's not their time, or it's not right for them, or it's just not, it's like, and you don't want to hear it from someone that you grew up with or someone in your family. Put in the comments, be honest. How many of you had that experience? I know I have, and I was like, oh, I have to tell everyone in the world. Everyone needs to know this. Everyone has to do this, and if everyone just does this in this way, they're going to get it. So that's a subtle ego. I was just so full of love that I felt, I can't wait to share this with everyone in the world. And if everyone can hear this, there'll be no problems. And then what happens? You realize everyone is so perfectly unique on their own unique journey. Everyone has their own time, their own style, their own way, and there's no one thing for everyone. What was it God said? If you didn't see the video, What God Told Me, a few days ago, you'll see it. You can check on the YouTube channel, What God Told Me. It was like, everyone has something for you. No one has everything for you. So it means there's nothing that is for everyone. Everyone is an angel on earth sent to give you something, even the NPCs, non-player characters. But nothing or no one or nothing has everything for you. So I remember I had this idea, and again, at that time I was just so full of love. I just wanted to share it with everyone. It's a beautiful thing. But how many of you have met people when you're in that state and you realize this thing and you tell them, and it's just like, whatever, throw it away. This is bullshit. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this from you. I don't want to hear it this way. I don't want to be coached by you. You're not my teacher. No, all of this, which is absolutely true. And then there are other people who would be open to it, and then it's fine. So put in the comments if you have experienced that. I'd love to hear. Make sure it's just not me. So I think we got off the topic of spiritual ego, did we? I think we defined, let me know if that definition, one perspective on infinite potential of human ego and spiritual ego, was defined clearly. Deborah, let's see, maybe this will answer. I identify as a spiritual being, so actually it's being a being, that's separation. Yes, perhaps we are supposed to be fragments of source. So we are fragments of source, and we are spiritual beings. The spiritual ego is the idea that I am a separate spiritual being with special powers. Let's just make a really easy version of it. So we are fragments of source. There is only source. There's only one source. And we are a piece of that. But everyone and everything else is a piece of that. And there's no one better. The spiritual and the asleep. Again, I'm just using these. There's so many levels in between this in the ways that we can say this, or partially awake, or fully awake, or enlightened beings, or ascended beings and descended beings. They're all one. And in one, there's no better. There's no more. One is one. One beyond the concept of the number one. It's oneness, wholeness, unity, whole and holy. So the spiritual ego comes when I am that spiritual being, which we are. We are spirit. We're in spirit. We're inspired. We're in spirit. It's a separate spiritual being. So the special beings, I'm Pleiadian, I'm Arcturian, I'm Andromedan, and I love you all, beautiful beings. I am Lemurian, I am Atlantean, I am, just what all this. I am human. Again, so that's why, so the human is like, I am only this little small human, and my stories is, this is the fullness of my being, and I'm this small separate self. And then the spiritual ego becomes, I am this separate special being, or I'm this separate being that has to fight for God, because God has to win. This God wins. Oh my God, there's so many things that make me laugh. But oh, behave yourself. This little thing. So I think we got that. Beautiful sister. Thank you, Deborah. My sister Katrina. I also fell into the trap of attaching that specialness label to my children until they taught me better. Always the student. Wow, oh my God, that's a big one. I never thought about that. Oh, that is so. Yes, there it is. That is so powerful. And especially for a mother, like, try and tell any mother on the planet that their child is not special. And that's absolutely true and absolutely beautiful, and such a challenge to have that balance of oneness, wholeness. Wow. Amazing. Amy says yes. Katrina says yes. Jenna says all simply source experiencing whole. Yes. Deborah, let's see. I have to put this on because I can't see the rest of it. Thank you, Martin. Very clear, but ego must serve us somehow, or else we would have. Can't see this something. We would have rid of it. The ego serves, so both spiritual ego and human ego serves as the ability for source to experience itself as a separate being. Otherwise, it cannot experience itself. So the ego is not, again, what we're sharing here is not that the ego is bad or wrong, again, because that would be a judgment and separation. All forms of ego serve the purpose of allowing source to experience itself in a way that is impossible otherwise. So the human ego allows source, which is oneness, wholeness, completeness, that cannot experience itself because there's nothing other than itself, to experience itself as a human, as a woman, as a man, as a body, as a child, as a world. That's what it serves its purpose. Spiritual ego allows the source to experience itself as the special spiritual one, or as the poor me, the victim, the evil one, or the holy one. And so it absolutely does serve a purpose, and its purpose, there is no experience without ego. There is zero experience. Source can't experience itself without ego, because it has nothing to define itself or refine itself. Ego defines and refines source in a way that it experiences itself that otherwise is impossible. So what we're talking about here is not that the ego is bad. We're talking about when we identify as that, and that's what we are, and that's what we have always been, and that's only what we are. So I'm just a human, or I am this special spiritual being. That's when we suffer. We can see a human playing out its role and be aware that the gift of this human ego is to define and delineate source experience that otherwise is impossible. But we know that that is not who we are. We know that it is source appearing. It's just that it's God appearing as this now. It's only when we, I think you used the word, it wasn't identify, attachment. So when we attach our identity as that we suffer, because then we are separate from source. And when the spiritual ego, what we talked about here, when you identify and attach your identity as this special spiritual being, you also suffer, because you make yourself better from the parts of yourself that are worse. So, and what you're saying, we would be rid of it. It actually doesn't exist. Oh my God, we're going to go so deep here. The only way that source can experience itself is through appearing to separate itself. The only experience comes from the part of source experiencing itself through an egoic or spiritual egoic experience. And all of that is just a dream of God. It's a dream of source. When this body sits down, and it isn't seen all the time, the individual identity is seen to disappear. It's recognized that it never existed in the first place. It's not that the ego was gotten rid of. It's not that someone awakened or became, realized the truth. It's seen that it never existed in the first place, and that there wasn't a someone to wake up, and there's no one to wake up. There is just this. And this has been seen, but it hasn't been seen by a someone. It's seen as itself that is never separate. And this awakening happens to no one. It's seen that there never was one that was asleep. There never was a word. It's seen by no one that none of it ever happened. That time is a dream. Universe is a dream. And that dream can last forever. And that dream is forever. So we're going very deep there. Thank you for pulling us into the depths. What's this one? Oh my God. Light bulb moment. I understand the role of the ego to create experience, but a relationship with ego identity. Boom. That's it. No one got it. No one got nothing, because there isn't anyone or anything to get. Yes, it's the word identity, and attaching an identity to anything, highest ego, lowest ego, is the cause of all suffering. I think the Buddha said something along those lines. Oops, how we identify with ego is what creates bliss or pain or anything in between. And it's just incredible. It's like when we talk about this, language, it's impossible. It's impossible for language to convey this because language is by definition based in separation. We've got 26 letters in the alphabet, and we've got words, which are just sounds that we generally agree on what they mean. So there's no words. There's only one answer to all of this, and it's this. We get to a point where words are just pointless. And we get to play out these words and play all these games and play this forgetting and remember our remembering until we don't. And when we don't, we'll see that it never happened anyway. And everything was perfect. And everything is it is, as it is as it is. And everything is always. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are... I don't know if you can hear this little beautiful being. It's amazing how this world appears. So this has been... What should we call this? I called it Morning Soul Session. Can you... I think it's spiritual ego versus human ego, or the special ones versus the little ones. Steph, looking fresh despite your late night shenanigans. I know, I was up doing laundry at 11 o'clock last night. That is way past Martin's bedtime. But we had a couple of days of like real heavy rain, and we've been in the tiny house on wheels, just not doing very much. So yes, put in the title. If you've watched this, what should we call this video? I think it's something along the lines of spiritual ego versus human ego, or special versus not special, or something along those lines. Put in the comments if you're joining, and if you have enjoyed this, share with anyone that you feel, any little ego that might want to not hear this or hear it. But we'll just sum it up by saying it's just so important to remember that where there is separation, where there is specialness, where there is hidden knowledge, where there's the ones that know and the ones that don't, I don't care what that is, if that's Illuminati or a spiritual group, or whether that's ascension teachings, or whether that's, you know, at school, all of those speak and feed and fuel and fire ego in all its forms, be that human ego or spiritual ego. And whenever you may get tested in a way where you're getting tested to see if you will bite that hook of I am the special one, or I know something more, or I have somehow got something that others haven't. Just be aware of it. And on the shadow side, if you're somehow you're made to believe that you're worse or lower or somehow not worthy or not good enough, or somehow these others have got something that you have not, just be aware and just see. Something sees all of that. Something sees the spiritual ego appearing. Something sees the human ego appearing. Something sees and knows. Like, we can literally... behave yourself. This little gimbal resting on my steering. If there wasn't something that's seen you feeling your lowest and you feeling your highest, let's just make it as simple as that, how could we talk about it? There has to be something that knows you in your deepest, darkest depression, and something that sees and knows you in your ecstatic bliss. And that something that sees and knows it can't be that, because it's witnessing it. There's something that sees you moving through all of the waves up and down here and there, good and bad, poor me, I'm amazing. There's something that sees that, something that knows that. If there wasn't, how could we even put this limited language to it? And because we can see by direct experience in this example, in this way, that there's something that knows and sees you at your highest and you at your lowest, there must be something that is not that. And that something is not separate from you. That's something, because you can tell your stories of poor me and you can tell your stories of your victories. So who sees all of that? What knows all of that? This is the self-inquiry. What is witness? What knows my experience? What is watching the movie? And then I suppose the highest form of spiritual ego is whenever we attach the identity of witness consciousness. So you become aware, you're able to witness the life playing out. You witness Martin, you witness world, you witness Steph, you witness everyone, you witness the world playing out. You've got some spiritual awareness now. And then you identify as the witness. Oh, I am the witness. Then again, I think that's probably the spiritual ego's last little hook. I am witness consciousness. I am aware of the world and nothing touches me. Then it can put its last little claw, like, so there's an identity called the witness. That's the one that's probably the most challenging, and maybe there's something more that hasn't become apparent now, but then, I'm the witness, I'm the awareness, I'm the one that sees the highs and lows. So there's an identity again attached. It might be a high spiritual identity, but I am the witnessing consciousness. So then again, it's a separate thing, watching, being conscious of your life, which again can't be true. It smells like separation. It is. So this has been, whatever we're going to call this, spiritual ego versus human ego, special versus not special, high versus low, good versus evil, all of this. We'll leave it there because we're on 52 minutes and my hand's getting a wee bit sore. It's very windy here, so I can't get out and sit on these wee rocks where I've been sitting for those morning sessions, but we shall continue. Love to hear in the comments what this has brought for you, triggered in you, light bulb, or wanting to smash the screen, or saying it's okay for you. There's the guy who was speaking to me one morning in Portuguese and I hadn't a clue what I said. I really need to brush up on those skills. Light language is easy, galactic language is easy, universal language is easy, human language, not so much. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everything that is shared here is just one perspective on infinite potential. Martin is challenged by every single thing that is shared through him. Sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't, and none of that matters. Until next time, from my heart to yours, the divine in me sees, loves, and honors the divine in you. Namaste. We are